Welcome to part 3 of playing how to play the flute. We're going to start today on talking about posture and how to sit while you're playing the instrument. Okay, so you'll see I have a chair here. I'm actually going to turn it sideways for this part of the video. And as you sit in the chair, a lot of times we normally sit in a chair by leaning against the back and just sitting in a chair. But when we play our instrument, we're actually going to sit on the front half of the chair. Okay, so here's the chair. Imagine you have half of the chair. You should sit on this part of the chair, this front half of the chair when you play your instrument. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to kind of look at the chair. There's half. I'm going to sit on the front half of it, and then I'm going to have a straight back. Sit up nice and tall, and you need to put your feet flat on the floor. Okay. So some kids, when they start, they're not real big, and so they say, well, my feet don't reach the floor. Well, then you're probably sitting all the way back here and your feet don't reach. So if you scoot forward, almost always your feet will be able to reach the floor. Okay, and so you sit with your feet flat on the floor, so you have a firm base, almost so that if you just lean forward just slightly, you could stand up easily, right? And that's kind of the posture we want, sitting tall. Okay? And that's how we start with that. Now I'm going to turn this way. And as you continue with the flute, make sure whenever you're ready to play, you always sit that way. When you're not playing the flute in band, let's say I'm talking to a different section and I'm working with them and it's not your turn, you can go ahead and set the flute in your lap and sit back and relax in your chair. And that's just fine. But when it's time to play and my hand comes up to direct the band, then you need to sit up and hold your instrument up, as I'll show you in a second, and be ready to play. Okay, let's talk about how to hold the instrument. You have lots of buttons on here, okay? And we're going to go through them one at a time where you put your fingers, okay? So that it's not so confusing. Okay, so here's the flute. And at first you have all these buttons. You have this one and this one and this one and this one on the first part. This is the tone hole. So the first thing you should know is that the flute goes to the right of your face. Okay, so here's my face, and as I put it up here, and I'll show you kind of where to put it in a second, this flute comes to the right. Okay, now your left hand, now if you're not sure on your rights and lefts, talk to your parents, okay, and have them help you. But your left hand comes on first, and it comes like if you were to look at the palm of your hand, it comes on like this. Okay, so it's not over the top this way, you're around this way. Okay. Now the first key on this side, you have these two little ones over here. We're not talking about those. We're talking about on the other opposite side from you, there's these keys. So this one here, we don't use with our finger. We skip that one, and your finger actually goes on this key. You'll notice if you look under the key that key actually doesn't block off anything right there. But what it does is it pushes down this one, because otherwise it gets really hard to reach that far. So they give you this one to help you out with that. Okay. Your next finger goes on, actually skips this key here. Oh, sorry. First finger here, you skip this next one, and you go to this one. Okay. And then your third finger goes on the third one, and your fourth finger is meant to cover this, what we call A flat key. Okay. Yeah, and you'll learn why in a minute. Now, at first, you think this might be kind of weird to hold it like this, because it is. That's not how we hold it. You actually turn your hand slightly, and you hold it so that it comes like this. So that this part of my finger right here goes against the flute. Okay? And your hand is turned slightly, and you keep your fingers curled. Okay? Now, on the back side is where there's these buttons back here. And your thumb kind of rests here or here, depending on the note we're playing. And sometimes it just kind of hovers there. All these fingers kind of just hover on the keys until you have a note you need to play, then you push it down. Okay? So that's kind of how you hold your left hand. Your right hand is further down the flute. And down here you'll see after the A flat key, there's two more keys that we don't actually push down on. Okay, so you skip these two keys, and then there's these three keys that have these little buttons in between. These are called trill buttons and trill keys. And so you put your fingers 1, 2, 3 around those two trill keys. Okay, and then your pinky rests over here on the first key on the foot joint. And then your thumb goes in between your first and second fingers. Okay, just on the opposite side down here. Okay, so when we put that all together, you have your right hand here, or sorry, your left hand, your right hand, okay? And that's how we hold it. Now, how do we hold it up to our face? Well, we'll show you. When you hold it up to your face, you stick it up here. Now, on this tone hole, you'll see that one side of the tone hole has not very much space. And the other side has a lot of space because that's where it goes against your face, right below your lip. And we'll talk about how to line it up exactly to play in a second. But first, I want you to hold it like we said. Put your fingers in the right spots. It's so important you put your fingers in the right spots. Okay? Then, you hold it up to your face. Okay? And there's 3 points which actually helps you hold the flute. Right here on your first finger on your left hand, and your thumb on your right hand. So if you were to hold it correctly, you could hold it with only those 3 points without using your other fingers. Okay, because this point's kind of, my right hand thumb is pushing out, my left hand first finger is pushing, and then I'm keeping my chin still. Okay, and that's kind of how we hold it. And that way you have range of motion with your other fingers to play. Okay, I'll talk about how to hold it without distorting your body. So when you play it, you sit up tall like we talked about on the front half of your chair and bring it to you. Notice I didn't move my head. Okay, I moved my arms to bring it up and hold it. Now, if you're a sixth grader and you're small, or even if you're just a small person, you might find that you really have to get your arms out there to hold that instrument in the right place. What we don't want to see is this, right? Or this. Okay? We don't want to see that. We want you to sit tall, keep your body posture straight, and bring the instrument to you, to your face, not the other way around. Okay? So, you sit tall, bring the instrument to you, and hold it. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice that. I want you to practice sitting tall and bringing it to you. And then what I want you to practice is you hold it up. I want you to practice having your first finger and thumb holding up the flute and your chin. And then use your fingers again. And then see if you can just practice holding it without it falling. Okay? Remember, be careful. You don't drop it. It will break. It will damage it. Okay? So that's how you hold it. Practice that a few times every day. Just practice picking it up, holding the flute, making sure you got it with all your fingers. And then also with just your 3 points we talked about earlier. Okay? Now, the flute can go exactly parallel to the floor. It's okay if it goes down just slightly, as long as you move your head with it. Don't go like this. See how it's at an angle to my mouth? That won't work. Okay, you got to have it straight along with your mouth. And if you turn your head just a teeniest bit and the flute comes down just a teeniest bit, that's okay. I'm okay with that. This, not okay. Okay? So nice and flat, slightly down is okay. Okay? So on page 3 of Accidental Achievement Book 1 for flute, you'll find a lot of these same explanations and a picture of a student holding the flute correctly. So reference that page in that book and make sure you're doing it the right way. Okay? In our next video, we'll talk about how to form what we call the embouchure and what the embouchure is and how to start making a sound out of your instrument. So we'll see you on the next video.